Hello, freedom fighters, and welcome to tonight's session. Tonight's topic is what property to buy to virtually make your first 100K. So if you can hear me loud, just type in the chat G to G, good to go. If you're watching the live, hashtag live. And if you're watching the replay, hashtag replay. So I'm Charmaine Adam, head property coach at Positive Property, and I'm super excited to be sharing tonight's stage with Adam Albright, who works very closely with Positive Property. He's our members the right of property. So, Adam, over to you. Do you want to introduce yourself a little bit? Let us know a bit more about yourself.
Well, I'm probably, like most of the other people out there at the moment, suffering from the man flu. It seems like every second person I speak to is not well. So if I mute myself halfway through conversation, you know why I'm muting myself. I've been around. I've been in the property business for about 22 years. Been a lot in the development side, the construction side. Have a fair bit of knowledge when it comes to building and development, and also when it comes to helping create wealth. Have been spending a bit of time with Positive Property over the last 7 or 8 years, helping some of the Positive clients through the journey. And we find ourselves here today, minus George, and we'll give it a fair go.
Yeah, so George unfortunately couldn't make it tonight. He's feeling a little bit unwell. So Adam and I are going to be steering this ship and talking all things about the right type of property to make your first 100,000. So what I love about the combination between Adam and George, really does know the research. He knows the suburbs. He knows where those top 100 suburbs, those growth spots are going to be. And Adam has the experience to ensure that we're buying quality builds and not over and sourcing those properties for our members.
Yep. And also making sure that all of our builders are above board, our developers are above board, and the product actually gets delivered. You hear too much out there at the moment about not really developers, but more builders going under. And touch wood, Positive haven't had any issues with that since I've been around. So that's a positive thing. And since Positive's existed, to be honest with you, so we just have to do our due diligence and make sure everything is above board.
Absolutely. And Adam, share with us what are the kinds of properties that we tend to look at, or what are the types of properties we should be looking at as investors?
Yeah, so you've got your traditional house and land, your single contract, single part house and land, and pretty much townhouses. They're the three groups that George focuses on. You could be looking anywhere from 10 to 15 Ks from a big CBD to somewhere with what might be a bit more regional as well. As you've seen, well, if you do your research, you'll see that a lot of regional places, such as, regional Albury in New South Wales, regional Queensland, Ipswich and further, those places have grown significantly since that COVID sort of has happened, with people sort of wanting to move out of being in a city and happy to commute. I've actually got a friend of mine who moved up to northern New South Wales, and he commutes back to Sydney for work. So he flies down, rents an apartment for 3 days, does 2 nights, 3 days in the office in Sydney and 2 days from home from northern New South Wales on a small acreage property. So with this Zoom world culture that we're living in, it's a lot easier for people to commute longer distances and work from home as well.
Okay, so I was just saying, just to share a little bit with the group about the differences between your single contract, your 2-part contract, and what the benefits are.
Okay, so single part contracts they're good to have. Basically, you're putting a 5 or 10% deposit down, no more to pay to completion. But the disadvantage, or it's the not so positive thing, is that someone has to pay for that property to be built. So the developer or the builder or the person doing it for you has to pay the stamp duty to buy the land and then the holding costs while the property is being built. Now, that can add up quickly, but you'll be paying stamp duty on the full amount of the property rather than paying stamp duty on just the land component. So I know a lot of people like the idea of these single part houses, but you are paying a premium, and also you've also got the disadvantage of your stamp duty, and the price that you're paying is more.
Absolutely. And then I guess that starts to lead into the benefits then of buying a two-part contract, a house and land package, because there's a saving on stamp duty.
Well, yeah, you're saving on stamp duty. You're saving on the actual developer passing on the interest and holding costs. So let's just say the project takes 12 months. He will be passing on all of that. Plus, he won't be doing it for nothing. He'll be wanting a margin on top of that. So let's just say your stamp duty is 20, your holding costs are 20. He's going to be charging you at least $40,000 to $80,000 more for buying that single part. But it is good because it's a good safe for your mindset, knowing that you've only got 10% out there. But it's a good product. It suits some people. It suits self-managed super funds. But you have to remember there is other ways out there. It's not just set single part contract. The old-fashioned house and land package with the right builder, the right block of land can still pay off in the long run.
No, absolutely. And I think another thing, I mean, we all know the benefits of buying house and land, and sometimes the benefits of land and the build taking a little bit longer actually can be a benefit. But there are individuals out there that they've got that, they just want that instant property now. They don't like having to wait
Yep.
or 2 years. But, you know, what would you say to those that are a bit concerned about the time that it takes to actually build a property versus having something in their portfolio straight away?
Well, I suppose it can work either way. You could be buying a block of land. Let's just throw a number out there: 300,000 for a block of land. You might pay a 10% deposit. So you got your 10% deposit sitting out there. So you got $30,000 sitting there. The land may not be ready. It might not be ready for 6, 12, 18 months. But you've technically bought a block of land for 300,000, but you've only paid 30,000 for it. So if that block of land goes up in the next 12 to 18 months, you've got a $30,000 deposit. The block could go up 100, 200,000. It's quite a large increase, which is a potential. It's like gambling, really. It's gambling for the future, putting a small deposit down to gamble that your land's going to go up. I can't see building costs rising too much in the next 6 months. I've been told they might go a little bit, but nothing too concerning. And then the second part was, why do people want instant equity now? Because, some people just want a rental property to be able to, lease out straight away.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess, if you are looking to buy something, off the plan, what should you be looking for in a builder and a developer? What kind of checks and balances are really important that you do to ensure, obviously, the safety of our members?
Yeah, good question. Like pretty much look at the history. So a lot of builders have come in the market since COVID. They've seen there's a quick dollar out there. And I constantly have these new packages come over my desk. But unfortunately, they've got no proven history. And I believe, if a builder or a developer has come through and is still trading with good figures now, I believe they're a good, solid builder. Not saying that people aren't going to close their doors, because it is always going to happen. But I think the rate of builders that we've seen recently, like Metricon was close at one stage, the largest builder in the country. I just think, just for builders who went through COVID, are still trading, who've had sort of 10, 15 years in the industry, I think they're a pretty safe bet.
No, that's good to know. And I guess, what else would you kind of speak to with timeframes of, land being registered versus waiting for the land to be registered? Because obviously there are some benefits depending on what your strategy is. I mean, it's nice to have land already registered because settle on the land straight to build. But there are obviously really good benefits as well in having land not registered just yet, but coming up in the next few months.
Yeah. That's a good point. So, for example, this is my opinion only, of course, I will bet that interest rates will come down either late this year or early next year. So rather than buying now at the higher rates, if you could just put a deposit on a block of land that doesn't register, say, for maybe 12 months' time, interest rates would have hopefully come down 3 or 4 times. So therefore, you're not paying that 7s and 8s. You might be paying back to your 5 and 6s, where your property will possibly be positively geared. So at the moment, you're probably negative gear anywhere from sort of, you'd know better than me, 50 to 150 a week out of pocket.
Yes, sometimes up to 200.
200, yeah. So if your interest rate come down, say 2%, I think if you run those numbers again, you'd find that those properties will probably be cash flow neutral or even positive. So, as I said before, it's almost like a gamble. You're putting a small deposit down now to gamble that in 12 months' time, interest rates are down and the value of the land is going to go up, which I think it will, because developers aren't doing as much as what they were 5 years ago.
And just to kind of, and obviously just to clarify, I mean, everyone loves completed properties because they're easy. You just sign your contract, settle, and you're good to go. But at this current market, it is very difficult to get completed properties.
Well, there's just no builders out there or developers who are just building stock to have on standby just in case someone wants one. It's your holding costs are too high. Most of you developers that I know and deal with, they all want at least 70, 80% sold before they even start, and then they'll start the project. So there's just not an abundance of stock like we used to have of just sitting there doing nothing. Because back when interest rates were low, the 3s and 4%, it wasn't a lot of money for a builder developer to go and build a product and have it sit there. But now your development finance is anywhere from 9 to 11%, 9 to 12% per year, 1% per month.
Got it. So it is. So I guess, at the moment with the way the market is, you really want to get in and get a property that obviously the numbers work for you and be a bit more open to perhaps a single contract off the plan or a 2-part contract, because waiting for those completed properties are just like a diamond in the dozen.
Yeah. And also, as I said before, you're paying a premium. Someone's paying for that stamp duty. Someone's paying for that holding cost. Someone wants to make some money out of it. So it shouldn't be your only focus, your only mindset. You should think about what other products are out there and what might suit you.
And just to give us an idea, I mean, if you were to buy a single contract off the plan for a townhouse or for a house and land, what are your expected timeframes for, from the start to completion of a property like that?
So off the plan, you mean has it started or not started? Like just a blank canvas?
A blank canvas, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So you'd be looking at it for, say, a townhouse site was just coming out of the DA. You'd be looking at probably about a 12-month build. House and land with a block of land registered in Queensland, as an example, you'd be looking at sort of a 7 to 9 month build time for a house and land.
And is that across all 3 states? They all have the same kind of timeframes, or do a little bit?
No, it varies. So, like at the moment, WA, it could take up to 6 months just to get a building approved over in WA. South Oz, they're working on their time frame at the moment. It's blown out to sort of 6 months plus, but I do know of some South Australian jobs coming in at that sort of 2 months, sort of 2.5 month process. Queensland's sitting at around 6 weeks at the moment, just as an example.
Got it. We've got some questions here. So if there's a shortage, wouldn't they sell right away?
That's right. That's why there's no stock out there. That was what I was saying before. There's no stock just sitting there on the shelf ready to go, because it's just a housing shortage and a rental shortage at the moment.
David asks, would you still need to make the repayments on the block of land while waiting for the build?
Yes. Yep. But the money you save on the stamp duty component should cover your interest while the house is being built. So, for example, the first payment to the builder is 5%. So that might be only, say, $15,000, and you'll be paying interest on that $15,000, which is not a lot of money.
Well, Adam, we've got to wrap this up because we've got to get ready for our private members group. If you've got any questions, just quickly type in the chat. We'll answer a few more questions before we go. But any kind of lasting thoughts that would be really important as an investor when you're in that decision-making process for the right type of property that's going to really get them that nice capital growth?
Well, look, I would just keep your mind open. I wouldn't stay focused on just a completed house or a completed townhouse or a completed property. Be open to what's out there and think about the words I said earlier about buying now and waiting for the interest rates to come down. Because you buy now, you're paying high interest, you still be tipping money in. In 6, maybe 12 months' time, the properties might be positively geared. So you could buy something now, pay a small deposit, and settle it in 6 to 12 months' time.
Nice. Well, it doesn't look like
that's my key takeaway.
Fantastic. Well, it doesn't look like we've got any other questions. Everyone have an amazing night. Thank you so much for your time. Adam, I'm going to see you into our private group so we can unpack this in a lot more detail.